I'll take you through a journey of SRSP. I'll talk about SRSP first, and then about the Peace Project. I'll begin with some stories from the field. This is up in Mount Sarhad after the earthquake in 2005. And you see the whole community over here. The district Nazim is there, the administration is there, the communities are there, they're all together. And what they're trying to do is that there are 9 villages, 21 village organizations without water, and they've all come together to get water to these villages. They managed to do it almost at half the cost of what the government had then said it would be done. And in 9 months this was complete. And today, after many years after that, this project functions, and the communities have even enlarged it with government support. Now this is the south, in the Lachi project particularly, which helped build about 72 small dams, which for storage of water, and these were again built by the communities. This is the IDP crisis which came up because of the events in Swab. There were millions that poured out of Swab, and they took refuge in Mardan, in Swabi, in all these areas around Peshawar. And for the first 15 days of this humanitarian crisis, the help for these communities came from the communities. It wasn't government, international organization or NGOs helping them. It was communities that were basically helping them. And if you go around different villages today here in KP, you'll find there are about 60,000 women benefiting from community investment funds. And then you go up into the mountains, you find communities generating electricity, sustaining them. Now what is common to all these? These are stories that I picked up from different parts of this province, but there's something that is common to all these. I think what is common to all these is the potential for self-help and resilience within the communities. This is what is common to all these. And the issue is, and if you look at it, you have social capital, you have social networks, we have the capacity for collective action within communities, and you have the very strong ties of reciprocity. It's very interesting, the governance advisors who often sit in Islamabad talk about many things, about how governance could be improved in this country. And one of them, who served many years in Islamabad, went to Central Asia, and they said in Central Asia, there was everything over there. You had canals, you had roads, you had schools, you had hospitals, you had everything. But what had happened was that the government had lost its ability to run them anymore. And they were looking towards the community, but the community itself had lost that abilities many years ago. So it's very important that in our part of the world, you know, the fact that there's resilience within the communities, between the state and the communities, there's something more. Can we tap it? Can that be tapped for? And this is the fundamental challenge with organizations like us face, that can the social capital be tapped for the development of the communities? And I think in this, the role of a catalyst organization is very important. The catalyst organization needs to be flexible, needs to be responsive, needs to be people-centered, needs to be learning, needs to be adaptive, and needs to be accountable. If you can bring these things together within organizations, any organization, it doesn't have to be an NGO, doesn't have to be, it could be any organization. If you bring these characteristics together in an organization, what you get is you generate trust within the communities, and you can build organizations based on that trust. And what we're talking here in SRSP is about mobilizing communities. We are talking about identifying activists, champions who take this process forward, and we're talking about providing technical and economic assistance to communities where this whole thing can be used to take this forward. Two things are very important over here. One is the context, and the second is the culture. The context is, these are organizations that are firmly embedded within the culture and the context in which they operate. So if you talk of different political dynamics, if you talk about different cultural dynamics that you face, whether it's in Fata, whether it's Shangla, whether it's Chitral, whether it's Deep, whether it's Buner, There are different contexts, there are different political contexts, there are different cultural contexts. It is for the organization to adapt to them. So the end of this process is organized communities. And what happens is that the organized communities have voice. They could generate demand. And on the basis of that demand, they could get services. They could get accountability. It could be better. That's how the whole idea runs. One of the questions that often asked is, where do you stand on the issues of rights? Well, as I said, we are an organization that is embedded in the society and the culture in which we live. And this is a society not where you're born in a certain position. It's a society of social hierarchies. So your position is determined by where you're born, and then there are societies where you're born, your citizens' rights are very clearly defined. And we see our work as a journey along a continuum. And we are somewhere in the middle of this continuum. And the fact that we build up organizations that try to be democratic, that elect their leaders, that build up their capacity, that try to make them accountable, means that we are contributing towards building up a society based on rights. We are somewhere in the middle, but that's how it goes. Where does this whole idea come from? It's the inspiration of the guide and the mentor has been Shoaib Saab, who's guided this over the many decades, starting up in the north with RSPN and then going through all these programs across Pakistan, picking up his ideas from different sources, Raifaisen, and the community work that was undertaken in Korea and other parts of the world, but bringing it all together. And these come together as the root support programs. We are clearly non-profits and non-government organizations. We have a distinct philosophy to change. Our approach to change, our theory of change is that we bring all stakeholders on board, whether it's government, whether it's religious leaders, whether it's all, they need to be brought on board to take this process forward. The boards of these organizations are voluntary boards. They contribute their time, their effort to these organizations as volunteers. We try to work, unlike many NGOs who try to do PhD in a single village, we try to work on a scale. So we try to do something on a large scale so that it has impact. One of the features of these organizations is the capacity for long-term survival that is being built into them by the government through provisions of endowments and others. This is a unique something that hasn't happened anywhere in the world, but it gives you a tremendous strength at the local level. We are very committed to working with government. We are not government, we do not, but at the same time we believe that if you need to bring change, if you need to bring in the largest amount of resources, then you need to work with government. So we philosophically were very committed to working with government to have an impact. And finally, I think we are very clear that in the complex world in which we operate, diversity, iteration and adaptation have to be a very important part of these. So we are not talking about blueprint programs. We are talking of programs that are process-oriented, that understand the environment and adapt to them and deal with complexity. Together we come together as the RSP network based in Islamabad, which brings together the sharing of all information, advocacy to be done. That's what the rural support programs are about. SRSP was registered under the Companies Ordinance in 1989. It was brought together by members of the civil society, individuals in their people in government in their individual capacities, academia. So many people got together to bring forward this idea. It was created, and then it went through a difficult period. In the initial period, 1981, 1992, the initial seed money came in, and then because of the Preston Amendment, there were problems with it. But between 1993 and 2000, we got a lot of support from the provincial government in the area development programs that they were doing, and the community development program was made an integral part of it. From 2000 on, in 2000, DFID came in with the major support, but we were able to generate a lot of resources through the Pakistan Poverty Alleviation Fund, which enabled us to go to a large scale. And so constantly we've been leveraging resources through many sources to do that. In 2005, disaster management became an integral part of this, the work that we do because of the earthquake, and we were operating in the earthquake areas. It became a very important part of our work. In 2009, the long-term capacity grants were provided both by FATA and the government of KP to give this long-term stability to this program. And we have built up partnerships with CEDA, OSAID, government of KP, European Union between 2010 and 2015. That's been the journey of SRSP. As an organization, our vision is a society where poverty is reduced and sustainable means of livelihoods are ensured. And our mission is to do that by building social capital, by mobilizing communities to address poverty. If you look at our programs, they're divided into two parts, development programs and humanitarian programs. I talk about the evolution of both. And if you look at the districts, we've got a presence in 24 of the 25 districts, and we've got presence in about 12 of the tribal areas. In terms of competencies, community mobilization stands central to the organization. This is mobilizing communities, building organizations of men and women, and then working through them. So we've been talking about over 34,000 organizations with which the organization has worked since its creation. And the approach is community organization, building up into higher organizations, the village, and the local support organizations. But the basic idea is that these organizations should be accountable, downwardly accountable to their basic members. Gender equity, gender equality is built up into the organization's philosophy and both at the philosophical level, organizational level, and what we're doing. So if you're forming community organizations, we make sure that, you know, a large part of that is women organizations. If we are promoting, we try to promote women leadership within the organizations. We have a program on community investment funds that reaches out to 60,000 women. A major program has been the community enabling infrastructure. These are infrastructure that are identified by communities. We provide the technical and economic assistance for them, and then they're implemented and sustained by the communities. Over 9,000 of these, costing reaching 1.8 million people have been implemented. And these are in drinking water supplies, linked roads, bridges, sanitation, irrigation, micro hydroelectricity, and mini dams and other government facilities. Some pictures from the field, getting gravity pull, drinking water from distance in Kuhar, the water pumps. This was especially built on the Lowari Tunnel, where thousands of passengers used to get stuck in winters, and to provide them with a shelter. A bridge up in the north, cable cars in floods to get people across, irrigation canals being built, before and after of projects. And one area, big area that in recent years has become part of the organization is the micro hydroelectricity. Over 206 micro hydropowers producing 24 megawatts of electricity. This has been recognized by Ashton and got a national award for the work that's been done. We worked on education, helping 88 community-based schools with 60% girl enrollment in some of the remote areas. We've helped 277 government schools reconstruction and rehabilitated, enrolling of 80,000 school children with semi-prefabricated structures that we did. Particularly, this was in Swab after when a lot of schools were destroyed and children wanted to go back to the schools. Improving access to social sectors, 30,000 population, Haripur and Mansehra, aware of Article 225, 1A and Alif Elam, and then there's a training of men and women PTCs going on with the government. About 87,000 men and women are being trained under this. We have a program on access to justice, which initiatives in 95 union councils, including 85 UCs of Marathon Division, and developing community-based paralegals benefiting 1.4 billion people. Community investment funds, as I said, is one part of our work that is innovative because it replaces microfinance, which has not worked in this province because of the high cost of delivery and risks involved. And this is a fund, seed money that is provided to the communities, and they do it let it out for income generating to people in the lowest poverty scores, then for businesses in the 12 to 23 poverty scorecard category, and then for microcredit in the 2350 scorecard category. This has mobilized over 65,000 women in 116 union councils of 10 districts, And according to a third-party evaluation, nearly 57% of the respondents reported a visible improvement in their incomes under this program. We've got a human institutional development that's a very important part of our work, and 193,000 members trained in leadership skills, 24,000 members trained in vocational and training skills. Economic growth is mainly carried through our value chain approaches that tries to address constraints in different value chains in the program areas. And advocacy is done by the organization mainly on two things: poverty and social mobilization, and on humanitarian issues. This has been done at national level, international level, at different levels. We are engaged in a number of public-private partnerships with the government of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and the federal government. Notable among them have been the Chief Minister's Program for Poverty Alleviation, which was concluded, the Micro-Hydroelectricity Program, the People's Primary Healthcare Initiative, Community-Driven Local Development, and rehabilitation of 40 government schools in Sarhad, and partnership with the FATA Secretariat for FATA regions, and access to justice, Alif Iran and SESTI projects which also work with government. As I said, part of our program's development, but the other part has been humanitarian. The crisis in KP is something that has propelled us to go to this field, and it's become a larger and larger part of our program because it seems to be another ending crisis in the life of this province. We have rebuilt 60,400 houses in a community-driven program that was acknowledged by the World Bank after the earthquake in 2005. We've reached about 521,000 households with NFI distribution. We've been partnering with UNHCR and doing this work in the IDP crisis areas. We've been engaged in rebuilding transitional shelters with 7,152 families down in the areas of Waziristan. We've also been engaged in registering families to 23,000 and deregistering about 109,000, and over 360,000 individuals, both in IDPs and host, have been facilitated through WASH interventions. And we've got a lot of many donors supporting our work in this field. That's what SRSP does, the overall picture, and the peace program is integrated into this program. And briefly about peace, it operates in 7 districts, 238 UCs over here. It just operates in 100 of those 238 UCs, trying to reach 2.7 out of the 4.7 million population of the area. If you look at the target beneficiaries, we have results 1 is social mobilization, results 2 is micro hydropower, results 3 is the community infrastructure, results 4 is women empowerment, and results 5 is economic growth. Bulk of the funding, about almost 62% of that, goes into micro hydroelectricity generation, and the other components are the much smaller components, but still very effective. Under community mobilization, over 7,866 CBOs have been established, 644 men and women village organizations, and 7 local support organizations under this program. There are 32,000 men and women trained in technical managerial skills. There are 27,000 youth members engaged in exciting and challenging activities under this program. And under the second output over here, 240 microhydro units to produce 21.7 megawatts of electricity. 99 microhydro projects have been initiated, completed, to produce 15.9 megawatts of electricity, benefiting over 42,000 households. This was the launching of the Kalam microhydro electricity project. There were 2 projects over here. One was of 400 kilowatts, and the other was 600, which had been dysfunctional for 6 years. And the provincial government handed over these to us. The first microhydro unit is now producing 400 kilowatts of it from the 200 that it had, and within 6 months this was rebuilt, and it's being a big boost, economic boost to Kalam, and the second one, the Ashuran one, which is 1.2 megawatts, should be completed very soon. And Kalam would probably be one of the first valleys which would have 500 kilowatts of excess electricity once this is done in this country. 470 CPIs have been initiated, and including 120 government facilities benefiting about 137,000 households. These are wells which we had established around Chitral, 53 of them through European Union funding, and during the floods this year we found that about over 10,000 people on each day used to go to these wells to fetch the water and played a very important role in ensuring, that health diseases were not spread around during that period. Bridges being built under the program. And then there's a small program for women empowerment under it. It's helped develop 351 women master trainers, establishing about 248 literacy centers, and then providing enterprise development training to 4,874 women, and 2,200 trainees provided with livelihood resources. And 600 women members developed in management of CBOs and BOs. Under the economic growth activities, 219 interest groups, business interest groups have been constituted with 3,772 individuals trained in value chains and enterprise development, 2,303 individuals supported in economic growth. We'll be showing films of some of these later on, so I'm not going to get into details of this. Thank you very much. That's about SRSP and the Peace Program. I hope it gives you an understanding of what we're trying to do. Thank you.